Alrighty guys, so we're gonna go over a motorcycle pre-ride check that you can perform on your bike before every single ride you do. We have the lovely instructor Val here to demonstrate for us on her awesome 2017 Honda Rebel 500 Sleipner. This is the beauty. So, and there's Nanaki over there. Hi Nanaki. So the first thing you want to do is check your tire pressure, the air pressure in your tires. So on these, you know what your stock pressure calls for? 40. I think it's actually 32, but we fill them up to 40 so we have more longevity when we ride and a little bit more air pressure in there. So you can usually find that information on your sidewall of your tire, on one side or the other. Looks like the other side, you know, if you see it. 41 PSI. So we'll get a shot of it right here. Oh, there it is, nice. So there is letting you know the max load for your tires, and you can find out the recommended in your owner's manual for your bike. So first thing we're doing is checking our tire pressure. You can do that with the tire gauge, make sure they're both looking good, feeling good. These ones are good to go. The next thing that you want to do as part of your pre-ride check is to check the controls of your bike. So for this, we're going to have instructor Val go ahead and mount her motorcycle. Remember to mount your motorcycle the proper way every time. Get your bike straightened up off the side stand. All right, so the first step in our controls is to check our throttle, make sure it's rolling on and off properly. We also want to have that snap back in there that you can hear. Next, we want to check our brake lever, make sure it's squeezed in and out, that we have some adequate brake pressure going on. The next of our controls is our clutch. Squeeze it in, ease it out nice and smooth. Good use of the clutch. Next, we want to check our gear shift lever, make sure that it's shifting up and down really smooth on these Honda Rebels. Going around to the other side, we then want to check our rear brake pedal, make sure that we're feeling that pressure when we apply our foot to the rear brake. Awesome. And lastly, we want to make sure that our handlebars are moving freely. So moving those handlebars side to side, making sure they're not binding, getting caught up on anything. Awesome, looks good. Now the next step in our pre-ride check is going to be checking our electrics. So for this, we're actually going to turn the ignition key on. That way we can get our gauge working. So we can see we're in neutral here, the bike's not running. The first thing we want to do for our electrics is to just test out our turn signals. So she's got the turn signal switch down here. There's the left one, you can see it going. And the right side, boom. We also want to check those in the back as well, making sure that we got the right and the left both working. Next, while we're back here, we can have her do the brake light. Notice how it's illuminating when she squeezes both the front and rear brake. Important that both brakes are going to activate that brake light. And next, for our electrics, we can go ahead and operate our high beam, show the difference between the high and low, making sure that's working properly. That's going to take care of our electrics. Also, she has hazards on her bike, so she can push that hazard button. Then you can see both those indicator lights flashing on the front and rear. That's going to show you your hazards are good to go. So that should take care of our electrics. We also want to just make sure our display is working properly and showing all of those. Our speedometer is digital on this one, as well as our gear and all that good stuff. Next up in the pre-ride check is to check the fluids. So what's this first one over here, Instructor Val?
The brake fluid.
All right, so this is going to be your front brake fluid reservoir. You can see this black box right here. There's this little circular window, and you can see the level that tells you how high it should be filled. You can look in this little glass window and see the condition of your fluid, as well as what level it's sitting at, and know if you need to add any to it. And if you do, you can remove these little screws on the top and add some brake fluid in there. So brake fluid's good to go. What's next?
Oil.
All right, we can check out the oil. So coming around to this side of the bike, our oil is actually hidden right down here. So this little circular window right in there is our oil. Go ahead, lean it to the left. So when it's on the side stand, notice how that level went down. if you try to check your oil on your side stand, you might not see any in that little reservoir window right there. So you want to make sure the bike is straight up off the side stand, then you can see the condition of the oil as well as what level it's coming up to. So we're good on oil. The next thing we want to check is our coolant. We can also check our rear brake fluid reservoir right here while we're here. On this Honda Rebel, it's right here. Notice this little white window here. We can see the fluid inside. It's a little bit hard to see, but if you rock the bike a little bit, you can see it sloshing around in there. And now that we've checked all our brake fluid and our oil, we also want to check our coolant. So here on this bike, you can see the coolant reservoir, the cap right here, and there's actually the reservoir down hiding inside. You can peek the camera underneath and see there is the coolant reservoir there to hold the coolant. You can also check that coolant level by opening up this cap on the radiator if the bike is cool, and you can see if there's coolant inside that radiator. If it's warm, you don't want to open that. Make sure you adhere to the warnings on the cap. Good. Now we've checked out all our fluids. The last thing we want to do as part of our pre-ride check is to check the final drive. So what that means could vary depending on what type of bike you have. For both Nanaki and Sleipner here, we are going to have chain drive on our bikes. So looking at our chain here, we're just going to do a quick once over of the condition of the chain. So noticing Instructor Val's bike here, the chain looks nice and clean. It also looks wet. That's what you want. You want it to be lubed up and clean, and that's going to show you that it's in good condition, good shape, ready to go. If it's really gunked up and dirty, or if it looks dry and rusted, then it's definitely time to clean and lube your chain. This chain looks good to rock and roll. So that completes the pre-ride check on our bike. The last thing we want to do as part of our pre-ride check, now that the bike is all checked over, is just to check our own personal attitude. Instructor Val, are you ready to ride motorcycles?
I'm ready.
All right.
Well,
so
until I put gear on, then I'm ready.
there you go. So gear first, but mentally she's ready to rock and roll, and that's where you want to be as part of your pre-ride check. Thanks.
Always make sure your side stand's secure.
Oh yeah, that's a good note. So yeah, some of these bikes, your side stand could slip out. So make sure that your side stand is down and secure and the weight of the bike shifts over onto it. There's plenty of times when your side stand might not be all the way engaged and the weight of your bike comes over, side stand folds in, and then there goes your baby laying on the ground. So make sure that side stand is down and secure and everything's good to go.